This is Jeremy Counseller, Dean of Baylor Law School. Welcome to another edition of Counselor's Corner, and I'm pleased to be joined today by Dylan Mayne. Dylan, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. I'm doing good.
Good. So tell me about where you grew up to start with.
So I originally grew up in Ocean Springs, which is on the coast, right next to Biloxi, for people who might not know where Ocean Springs is. It's...
What about for people who don't know where Biloxi is?
Okay, so it's on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. It's about an hour and a half away from New Orleans, just east of it, and then about 45 minutes from Mobile.
And then college was Mississippi State, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were in the band there.
Yeah. I played the baritone. Again, I feel like almost everything about my life is very like niche things, but it's like a concert horn, looks like a small tuba, very specific for like marches and things like that.
Explain to me what a Montgomery Fellowship is.
Yeah, so it's named after, the congressman that came from Mississippi, Sonny Montgomery. He was very big in kind of, localism in Mississippi and really getting public policy kind of rooted back into the local communities of Mississippi, especially kind of after, a lot of the different policies that the state had done. I don't want to get too much into Mississippi politics, but I focused on that subset. And basically, this program was named after him to kind of revitalize communities, rural communities that were kind of going downhill. So basically, we came up with these civic engagement projects. And that's what I did. I wrote a proposal to the school. It was funded.
And is that something different than when you were a DC policy scholar, or are those two things connected?
Those are not connected.
Okay, so what's the DC policy scholar?
Yeah, so that was basically just generally getting people interested in Pepperdine's public policy school and law school for people who are interested. They have a connection, them also being, a religiously affiliated university. Those who wanted to kind of intersect, the study of their faith and, political involvement with kind of more professional degrees and things like that.
Okay, so you come to Baylor Law School. Remind us how far along in law school you are.
I am currently a 4Q.
So you're the beginning of your second year.
Yes.
How have you found Texas?
I like it a lot, yeah. I miss
compare and contrast with Mississippi.
Okay, well, I would say it's strange because you guys have a mix of Southern people, and when I say Southern, I think mainly like Mississippi, Alabama, kind of the deep South, and all those tropes that go with that. You have a mix of people like that, especially from the more East Texas region. But then you also have all these transplants that are like faux Texas, kind of, not in a bad way,
Okay. Okay. So how have you found your first year of law school? Just somebody who's thinking about going to law school, how was reality different than what you expected it to be?
I think for me, it was definitely a lot tougher than I kind of expected. I thought since, I had done kind of these other things alongside of working post-undergrad, like these extra study things I didn't have to do, I thought it would be, a pretty easy transition. But it turned out to be a lot, a bit of a learning curve at the beginning. But I'm very grateful for it. That may also just be how the Baylor schedule is too. Like, it's kind of very, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess because it's sped up almost. Like the 9 weeks, quarter system requires you to kind of take on a lot of material and kind of get it quickly in order to kind of do well along the way. But that being said, like now being at the beginning of my 2L year, I feel like very prepared almost. Like anything can kind of like come my way and I'll figure it out, So I think it was good, overall.
Yeah, well, good. Okay, there's something I want to talk to you about in particular that you experienced this summer. I understand you did a lot of things this summer.
Yes.
Okay, can you just give me like a 15-second bullet point summary of your activities this summer? And I'm going to drill down on one of them.
Okay. It was very busy. I basically, the day after finals started, I still had a memo for LARC 3 due the same
legal
day
writing
I was
course.
leaving. Yes. I began a externship with the U.S. Air Force at Keesler Air Force Base, just in Biloxi, Mississippi, so right next door. And then after that, I was in Zambia with initially traveling with Professor Sayre, which was an adventure in and of itself, you know. And I was there for the whole month of July. So I think I had 2 days off from the Air Force to be like getting on the plane to go to Zambia. And then afterwards, I clerked for a chancery court judge in Mississippi, which, you know, it's a pretty rare opportunity. There's not very many chancery courts still in existence. So yeah, and then it was literally 2 days later, and then I was back here in Waco.
Okay, the Air Force internship, is that something that you think might lead you into the JAG, or is it a different sort of track?
I mean, it was primarily to get us to have a taste for JAG. I think it also kind of opened my eyes to a lot of the civilian jobs that they also have on bases. Mm-hmm. You know, they deal with things that any other federal agency would do, and there's civilians who specialize in like government contracting and things like that. So, but for me in particular, I kind of have always thought I wanted to go the JAG route. When I began kind of looking into administrative law kind of in particular, I thought this is kind of like, it's a weird overlap of being able to, you know, serve your country and have all the benefits that are involved with that, you know, personally and also just, you know, financially and things like that. I did it with the Air Force. I think I'm very interested in doing it with the Coast Guard, however. Just because of like the area I grew up in, I've always had an affinity for kind of the more naval-oriented forces. And the Coast Guard, you know, it has a very niche role in really just American history. You know, they're so focused on, I mean, for one thing, they're under the Department of Homeland Security versus the Department of War now, I think it is. So they just have a unique role, and they deal with things involving everything from like immigration to safety to environmental quality to all that different kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that definitely pointed me into wanting to do that.
It's one of those things that your answer reveals one of those things I always tell people who are thinking about going to law school, but maybe they don't quite know what they would do with that law degree. And I always say a law degree doesn't burn any bridges. I mean, there's all sorts of things you can do with a law degree in just about any field or industry. So I do want to drill down on the second thing you did during July, which is the Zambia trip. Mm-hmm. So Zambia, we have an externship program in Zambia. Zambia is in sub-Saharan Africa. It's a country in sub-Saharan Africa. So I've been there a couple of times. Mm-hmm. I've worked a little bit with the program. Tell me what impression what's the first impression Zambia made on you? Maybe when you're walking down the stairs off the plane, what was the first thing you thought?
I think the first thing I noticed was how friendly everyone was. I mean, you know, anyone from America would kind of be when they first get off a plane in a country like Zambia. It's like everything's very different. Like you're very different. So people are very, you know, curious. It's like, why are you here? Like, what are you doing? You know, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that was just kind of the first thing that struck me getting off the plane of Zambia. I mean, part of that may have been, you know, the people trying to help us with our bags right when we got off, you know, but just in general, I mean, that's like that's the greatest impression that Zambians in general had on me, is their curiosity and just kindness, just in general.
Yeah, same impression for me. Yeah. Okay, so in Zambia, you worked with a nonprofit there called Up Zambia, and tell us about the work that this nonprofit does and about the work that you and your fellow students did while you were there.
Yeah, so the main mission of Up Zambia is to provide kind of the public defender type role for juveniles in the country of Zambia. Unlike in America, they don't have like a government-funded kind of branch that does those types of things. So
public defenders.
Yeah, public defenders are not really a thing there.
Yeah.
So they have. I mean, Up Zambia is not the only one, but it is a non-governmental agency or organization, I think is the right term, that goes into these prison systems. You know, asks questions regarding like the juveniles that they currently have in custody, trying to understand why they're there, kind of, even if their parents know that they're there. That's kind of like the barrier that they have, because not only do they have, the systematic kind of issues that any country deals with, that's not funded, by the government. They also have, the cultural and linguistic barriers, because I think in Zambia they have like 82 different spoken languages. And because of that, it just creates, practical complications when trying to figure out, like, someone who is either, held for a specific reason, or, they may just have been around the general area when, police or someone else came and, accused somebody of something. So that's kind of what Up Zambia is trying to do. They're trying to understand and help those people who are in the prison systems and they don't really know why.
Did you get a chance to visit the jails while you were there?
Yeah. So I think that's one thing, especially about the externship, that's really unique is, I didn't do this, but a lot of the other, my other classmates who were with me on the trip worked at public defenders' offices. And they were like, you can't even get that close to someone who's in an American prison, and we would literally be, sitting next to a group of people in Zambia, in the prison, getting to talk with them, getting to see, like, just get their firsthand experience of everything that's gone on since they've been there.
Yeah. So typical day for you in Zambia, what was that like?
Okay. So it's the mornings are pretty relaxed. I think, Americans have this urgency about them, especially American lawyers, and that's not a thing in Zambia. It's very much Zambian time.
Did that make you nervous, or did you think this is something I could get used to?
I think it was something that I could get used to. Yeah. Well, I just, also being from Mississippi, I feel like life is slower there than a lot of places, especially compared to like DC, where I lived afterwards. So Zambia was kind of a nice change of pace. But anyways, you would wake up in the flats with everyone, and that's another thing. They were a former British colony until the 60s, I believe.
So y'all are all staying in the same.
Yes.
You're all staying in this set of flats.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a set of flats not far from the office. I mean, I think it's like a 10 or 15-minute drive, and the school or Professor Sarah, whoever, has arranged a bus to pick us up. They're there at the same time every day. And you could be going anywhere kind of throughout the city, or like often I would be going to a prison that was outside of the city. So they would be coordinating different things with that. But basically everyone gets on the same bus. The bus goes and drops people off at different locations if you are assigned to the court team.
And what time of day is this that you're getting on the bus?
Like 9.
Okay.
9
yeah.
a.m. Yeah. But, that not saying 9 a.m. in America is 9 a.m.
Yeah.
There, it's 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. almost. Yeah. Anywhere in there, that's fine. So you could get dropped off at any of the courts throughout town. That being the capital, that's where their high court, which is like more of their appellate version of a court.
Lusaka. This is in Lusaka.
Yes, this is in
Zambia.
Lusaka.
Zambia,
Sorry,
yeah.
You could either go to high court, you could go to one of the trial courts, or you could be assigned to go to the office. And then once you're in the office, you could kind of get assigned to really anything that was going on in the city. Either like a more humanitarian issue where they're going to pick up donations or sort through things, or they're going to go further out to another prison. So for me, I think for the first 2 weeks, because I was particularly interested in one program that they had going on there, which was their mobile court system. So this was a new project that Up Zambia was kind of the main proponent of, and I think the government of Ireland, strangely enough, was the main funder of this. But they would coordinate with judges to go basically to the further prisons that are outside of the city and hold kind of like the initial hearings and trials and things like that there, because of just, the burden of traveling with inmates and also things like that. It could speed up the process a little bit more. So that was kind of what they did. So I was assigned to the team, the mobile court team, that would go to this prison. It's called Mwembeshi Prison. And it was, I'm not going to say any prison's nice, but this one was this one was of a higher quality than some of the other ones. So we would go out there. It was kind of a long journey. It took almost like an hour just because of the way the roads are and things like that. And the main inmates that are there are PIs, or prohibited immigrants. And, the location of Zambia is unique in that it's landlocked and surrounded by all these other countries. But politically, it's also very unique because it was one of the first democracies in that area. So, they're relatively a lot more stable in terms of their politics. They have a lot less internal conflicts going on. So a lot of the other countries around there, that have particularly, harsh treatments for some peoples, like in the DRC, Democratic Republic of the Congo, or Burundi is another one. They have a lot of people trying to flee those areas. So there's just a lot of people who are not Zambian citizens, but that's kind of where they would go, is Mwembeshi, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really great program because up Zambia and our students there are trying to help the juveniles while they're in the justice system, but also provide them support while they're in jail awaiting whatever proceeding they need to go through. And it's a great program. I hope you got to also do some things that were fun. Did you go to Victoria Falls?
I did. I was part of the group that got to go down there. So that was, I think, that was one of the highlights of the trip, especially. Not only like getting to travel and see that wonder that is Victoria Falls, but also we got to go to a couple like juvenile schools, which is part of their court system, but more of like a reform school type of atmosphere, and get to see those students who were there, because that was more of an integrated, like them living there. It wasn't quite as prison-esque, and getting to see the rehab side of their prison system too was interesting.
Big takeaway from your experience in Zambia?
Well, I think for me, the big takeaway is honestly just seeing how, I guess, different lawyers and different people who are interested in the law and, carrying out justice in the ways that they can impacts their mission. I mean, I think people don't always realize that, there are other countries besides America. Obviously Americans don't often think about anyone else, I feel like. So just having that experience and seeing their both struggle to carry those same things out, but also like resilience in how they get it done, I guess. And for someone like me who's really interested in public policy, just getting to see, how things shake out in another country was amazing. Like,
I guess you would recommend this for other students.
Yes,
to do.
definitely.
Yeah.
I would, for
Good.
sure. Yes.
Good. Okay, we have come to the lightning round.
Okay.
The questions are silly. Your answers have to be short. Okay. If you could instantly master any skill, what would it be?
I think, well, that's a hard one. I would say baking, because I think everyone's impressed by a good baker.
What's your favorite snack while you study or during a break?
Favorite snack? Cliff Bar, peanut butter Cliff Bar. Those are my favorite.
Other than an email or messaging app, what's the most used app on your phone? Are you trying not to say TikTok?
No, I'm actually against TikTok. I think it is too distracting for me personally. It takes up too much of my life. So it hasn't been.
So you have answered the question.
No, it hasn't been on my phone for a long time. Honestly, I probably like Apple News or something very boring. Yeah.
Favorite childhood TV show?
Kim Possible.
That makes me feel so old. If you had to give a TED Talk on something not related to the law or law school, what would it be?
I think this is something that me and you probably have in common, is the literature and general just life of C.S. Lewis.
Okay, I like that. Favorite guilty pleasure TV show currently?
Slow Horses. It's a British TV show. Everyone should watch it.
Coffee or tea?
Ooh. I think I have to say coffee, but I do enjoy tea. I just, the quantities of coffee definitely outweigh the tea.
Favorite local restaurant?
Alpha and Omega, Greek restaurant.
Good answer. Okay, I understand you have a question or two for me.
Yeah, so they told me I could ask a question, and I wanted to do the typical lawyer thing, get a two-parter in, get as much out of it as I could.
That's fine.
So my central point is, why do you still teach Civ Pro? And second part is kind of, how are you able to kind of handle it with all the responsibilities of being dean?
I was paying very careful attention to your tone there, Dylan. Like, why do you still teach Civ Pro? I do it because I do it in part selfishly because I like to do it. I think it's good for me to do it. I think it's good for my mental health. I've said this before to people, but I have never once in my life thought about a problem I have while I am teaching class.
Yeah.
So it's a form of meditation for me. And if you can find an hour in most every day to be absolutely present in the moment, I think that's a very healthy thing. And for me, that's teaching. Now, whatever challenge or problem I have, it's waiting for me in the hall once I end the class. But to have that kind of time period regularly in your life where you're present, it's kind of like prayer or meditation, you know. So for me, it's a healthy thing. And then I think also it's good for me to understand the rhythms of the academic year for us, because all of our faculty and all of our staff are linked to those rhythms, and I don't want to be separate from them. And I also didn't want to be nothing but some administrator walking around the building in the eyes of the students. I wanted to have a relationship with them, and I think teacher-student relationship's a really special relationship, and I didn't want to give that up.
Yeah.
So that's the answer.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
I thought it was a two-parter. What was the other part?
Oh, well, the two-part was kind of like, how do you juggle?
Oh, how do I juggle it?
Yeah, with all the other stuff going on.
How do I juggle is I do it at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's over. It's over at 9:10, and I like that because you still have kind of a full day ahead of you when you're out of class. And now the students don't like it. I mean,
I was gonna say, I was there a year ago.
I remember.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, having it for usually about like 4 times a week.
Do you feel like it changed having to be up early and ready to go at 8 o'clock for class? Do you feel like that sort of adjusted your own rhythms, like to be an earlier rising person permanently or long term? I
think, I mean, it wasn't really that big of a change for me because I actually taught school a year before
What grade did you teach?
I taught high school, so I taught government and Mississippi studies.
Okay, that makes sense. That tracks.
Yeah. But so it was 9th grade and then 12th grade. So good spread of.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyways, what I was going to say is I had to be up early for that anyways.
Yeah.
So it didn't really affect me very much.
Yeah.
But it did. I do have to say your talk that you gave on one of it may have been during orientation, or I don't remember. But you were like, if you can get up and have worked out, by the time everyone else is up, like that's a power move, basically. And
I don't know that I've ever used the word power move.
Okay, well, yeah, maybe I'm paraphrasing a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's in power move might not be the right thing to say, anyways. I guess just that's a good start to the day and productive.
I do agree with that.
Yeah,
I do agree with that. For me, I like being up early. I'm a 5:15. I get up at 5:15, 5 to 5:15, because I like to have a little peace and quiet. That's how I like to start my day. I like to have my coffee. I like to work crossword puzzles in the morning, and to have a half an hour to do that, it makes me feel like I've got a little, time to myself and a peaceful time. That for me is a good start to the day. Dylan, thanks a lot. Enjoyed the conversation. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, this was great.